Welcome to Selfish Confidence, a place where we can connect and be real about how hard it is to be your damn self. My name is Jess, and my goal is to help you build confidence and belief in yourself to live any life path you want, even if it's unconventional. It's time to flip off societal pressures and connect with women who've also felt on the outside by their life choices. We're here to encourage you to grab the mic and speak your truth. I know it can be scary, but we're in this together. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Selfish Confidence Podcast. It is a very fun day over here because I have my very good friend Megan Seibel here with us. How you doing, Meg?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? You're very
I'm doing so
pregnant.
good. I am. When we're recording this, I am super pregnant. And what's really exciting about Meg being here, and we're going to talk about it a bit, like she was one of the first people that I admitted that I was going to make a baby.
I was so excited when the words left her mouth because when I
Oh,
first came across you, when our paths first crossed, we were at an empowerment event and it was for Keisha's event.
yes.
And
Oh, yeah.
you were speaking you spoke in like a panel and you talked about
Yes.
how you weren't going to be a mom. And I was like, she's cool, man. She's funny. She's cool. She gets up there, a ton of energy. I'm like, I like that girl. And so I went and found you and introduced myself because whenever I get a good vibe from somebody and the energy is good, I make it a point to connect with that person because you guys, those are like, those are your people. You have to
Mhm.
follow the spark. So I followed the spark and then we ran into each other again at another event. And you were like, Megan, guess what? And I was like, what? And you're like, I want to be a mom. It's like, wow, that is so awesome. Like, and that's what's great too, is that as we grow and we change and we evolve, maybe motherhood isn't something you want right now, but maybe it's going to be something that you evolve into, like that you decide you do want to experience that. But like, no shade to people who don't want to be moms. I mean, it's a personal choice. But I, for one, am so excited for you. And like I said, like you are going to find a new version of yourself in motherhood. And she is so cool and she is so strong. And I'm excited for you to meet her.
It's so funny too because I remember you and you had a hat on. My husband likes to talk about these events of like the women who have these hats. And you were like the version that I can see. And I remember meeting you and I remember walking by you again. You're like, hey, see you again. But it's so interesting because there wasn't a lot of time between those two events. That was
No,
like October, end of September, October, and
it
then
was, yeah, it was end of
February.
September. And also I went through some huge life shifts as well. Like after that event as well, I like decided to shift away from just wellness coaching and really go full into content creation, like as a job and into my acting, which I was already kind of doing acting, but I was having like a moment of hesitation because I was doubting that I could do it as a mom, funny enough, and do it well. And, so it was a huge shift. And I think that, what happened? So like, well, how did you, I know we're going to talk about me, but like,
This
you've
is
not
this is
told,
not about me.
I know, but like, how did you go from in September, I'm not a mom and, to I'm going to be a mom? Like what happened?
Well,
No,
I'll send you a
really.
link to a podcast episode, Meg.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay. I
honestly,
didn't hear
short
that
short
one.
version, short version is like I spoke on that stage and something didn't feel right. That
Mm,
trip, something didn't feel right because my husband and I went and hiked the mountains afterwards too, and just
mm-hmm.
like speaking on the stage and saying that it's like something was off. And I was like, oh
Oh,
crap, something's off. And then I came home and I talked to some people about it and they're like, yeah, there's a baby for you. And I was like, shit, I don't want it. And then I had to really work through a lot of stuff of like, why don't I want it? And what's the
yeah.
fears that are there? And all, it was a
Yeah.
long journey of like a lot of work of like
Yeah.
figuring out why I was like, ew. Every time someone said like, oh, I'm having a baby, my initial reaction was like, ew, how gross. And there was a reason for that. There was some deep
Well, it
underlying
is kind of
fears that were
gross to
there.
imagine somebody else having a baby. Unless you're like an OB/GYN, you do that for a living.
You
I,
love
I mean,
that. Yeah.
I wouldn't even want to watch my sister have a baby, and I love my sister. And like, I don't know if I could be in there. I don't know, but
No.
I don't know. But somehow we do it, and yeah, I mean, if you have that urge to procreate, do it.
Yeah, it
Do
wasn't a
it.
natural thing for me. It took time to figure out. But
Mm,
then that event where we met again and I was crying a lot. And I was like,
yeah,
oh
yeah,
crap, there's something here. I was like going to go
yeah.
speak at it and I was like, I'm supposed to be here to speak, not to cry. And well, we did both.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can teach through our healings, like, right? Isn't that what we're
Yeah,
doing? Yeah, I
exactly.
love that.
So why don't you tell us about you then
Okay.
and your
Well,
life and how you just got started on this journey where you are now?
sure. So, like I said, I'm an actor and a creator, and I have been performing since I basically like begged my mom to take me to audition for a play, a musical, something. I wanted to entertain, I wanted to perform. And my first thing was um a really kind of serious play, Macbeth by Shakespeare. And I was in that and I was small. I was like 6. And then I was in The King and I musical. And I grew up in Bakersfield, California. So we had some professional theater. It wasn't like Broadway, but like it was like professional theater. And so I did that a lot growing up. Like I was either in school or at rehearsals or at dance class. I just really had the opportunity from a young age to do something that I really, really loved and was also good at. And I didn't know like how much of a skill it was and innately for me, like my zone of genius. You don't really think about that when you're a kid. You're just doing something that you like, right? And I think as adults, we would be a lot happier if we figured out how to do the things that we really loved doing when we were little that we just did for fun. How could we do them in our jobs? How could we do them in our daily life as a hobby? How could we do them and incorporate them in? I think we would be a lot happier. But I was fortunate enough to have found that really early. And I didn't take it for granted because when I was 6, I developed a seizure disorder and I had a big seizure that put me into intensive care. When I was 6 years old, I was in the hospital for 8 weeks. I had to relearn how to walk, how to talk, like everything. So pretty early on, I was confronted with this health challenge, neurological challenge, like whatever it was. I mean, I came back from it. My mom says I was never really like the same, like in school. I'm like, thanks, mom. I worked really hard and I got good grades, but like whatever. She's like, well, you were the top class. I was like, I was the top of the class in math in kindergarten, mom. I'm like, come on, you like, please. But I had this deep appreciation for being alive and this awareness that I don't think like most children, I hope that they wouldn't have to go through that, right, and have that, but I had that and I was aware of it. And it wasn't scary. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I almost died. I wasn't like depressed or scared. I was like excited. I was excited to just live. And I kind of had like a attitude of like, I don't really care what other people think of me. I'm going to do what brings me joy kind of thing. And so I sort of followed that. I studied theater in school. I went to Tisch at NYU and studied theater and lived in New York. And then I moved back to LA and did TV and film. And then I got into yoga because I just really found like safety and like calmness on the mat. I was really getting into nutrition at the time. And so I really started my wellness journey, I would say right after college, and simultaneously was pursuing acting, but like I was on the yoga mat like for that hour and a half, 6:30 a.m. class every single day. Like it was my job to work on myself, right? And for my wellness. And so I really built those habits early on. Um, and so I guess I mean, I'm 45. So social media was not around. If I wanted to be creative and I wanted to earn an income being creative, I would need to do acting, right? Film and television, theater. And I did all of that in my 20s. I met my husband when I was 20, right before I turned 28. And I was like, well, dang, I was getting my master's degree in education at University of San Francisco. And I was going to be a teacher because I was like, well, I can do acting and I can also teach. I love little kids. I was directing shows at the school and I was I was working for the Shakespeare company up there and going around different schools and directing these plays and things for these little kids and just love, like, I'm really good with little kids. So I was like, well, I can do this. This is very secure. And at the time I had also I had another health scare. So it all comes full circle because my passion is wellness and also performing, creation, entertaining. And I found a way to marry the two, but it was because my life took all these twists and turns and acting didn't work out the way that I wanted it to. It wasn't easy. I didn't just get a sitcom and like have a career, like those other actors that just work, work, work. I also wanted a family, but I wasn't really sure. And I was really scared. I'm going to have to choose. And I hadn't met my husband yet. And I was kind of like in my late 20s and people were having babies and my friends from school, they were married already. And I was like, well, I guess this is meant to be. I'm going to go back to New York. I'm going to do Broadway, and I have my teaching credential for California and I have my master's in education. I can fall back on that. I can do something with that. I have some security. But again, I had a health scare again. So I went for my regular annual pap smear and they found precancer cells on my cervix. I had come into contact with the HPV virus, which they vaccinate people for now, thank goodness. And I had precancer cells like growing all up inside me. And that was like really gross and really scary. And so I made some huge changes. I became vegan. I started researching wellness and nutrition and reading and studying it even more. Like I really actually became a student. I wasn't just interested in it. I was like committed to learning about it and becoming an expert on it for my own health. And I was 26 at the time. So this is about 2 years before I meet my husband, year and a half. So I get healthy. I do all these things. I get healthy. The doctors were able to like laser off where they thought most of it was. And, I recovered from that. And I've had normal pap smears ever since, but it did make my cervix shorter. So just so you know, you need like a long, beautiful cervix to keep a baby up in there while you're pregnant. And if it's too short, it can come early. That actually happened to one of my best friends. So, and recently around that same time. So I'm like, okay, great. Maybe I'll never have kids. So I think I'm telling you this, I'm adding this in because of what you said at the beginning of the podcast. I think we all have these fears and, we do like fear can control us. It's a human feeling. It's a very common human feeling. But on the other side of fear is our ability to create in our life what we truly desire. And I truly desired a healthy body at that point and also a family. And when it came to, well, maybe I can't have this, then I was like, well, no, I really want this. I want this more than an acting career. I want this more than going back and doing broad. Like I want this. And that became very clear. And so I just focused on my health and I focused on myself and I started teaching. And oh my God, I was drinking all the green smoothies, all the green juice. Like I was like teaching a preliminary kindergarten class, finishing my master's. And then that fall of 2008, I met my husband. And once I met Ben, I was like, a light bulb went off. I just knew he was my person and he knew I was his person. So anyways, I met him, moved to San Diego and was like, great, now I'm moving to a city I never planned to live in. I went to one open casting call for the theater down here, didn't get anything. That really shot my confidence down, made me feel like I'm not going to do it. At the time, there was not online casting calls or anything like that because it was still, again, that time it was 2010. So like we had Facebook, but like if you were going to go into an audition, you had to be in LA. You couldn't live in San Diego. You could do theater in San Diego, but I didn't really want to do theater. I had done theater. I wanted to do commercials and TV and film, I thought. And I was just questioning all these things. But I could also teach yoga and I had my teaching credentials. So I got a job teaching kindergarten down here. And I liked that. I liked that. But then I got illegally fired by the school director because he was sexually harassing me. And also I got pregnant, very sick, had to be hospitalized. And he was like harassing me to quit also and like bullying me. And anyways, I ended up speaking up and suing him and he got fired because he was not just doing it to me. Usually those types of men do it to a lot of people, a lot of women specifically. So that was a really stressful first year of motherhood, dealing with all of that and finishing that up. But I was like, well, teaching didn't work out. Acting didn't work out. I'm just going to be a mom. You know what? I'm going to cut my losses. Like, obviously, I'm grateful for all the time that I had entertaining people, but that time is done now. Like, very dramatic, right? In my mind, I'm like, I am no longer Megan the actor or Megan the teacher or I am Megan the mom. And in my little black and white brain at that moment, I was like, well, Megan the mom cleans the house, takes care of the baby, and plans the dinners. And that's sad to say out loud, but like that is like what I thought. It's funny because my mom worked and she had 4 kids and she did a really good job raising us and we were at all the extracurricular activities. But like for whatever reason, thought, and I'm sure this will speak to somebody, but I thought like, well, it has to look this way for me to do a good job. And I think I was struggling so hard as a perfectionist. I had to do it perfectly that I cut myself off from everything that brought me joy before I became a mom. And even though my children bring me great joy, there has to be balance. And there was none of the previous me left. So for the first 2 years of motherhood, I didn't really know myself. And I didn't really rebuild myself. I was very sad and very stuck. I lost a baby actually just recently. Told my children this story because I feel like they were old enough to understand. But I lost a baby in between the boys. That's why they're 3 years apart and not, I was kind of planning for like 2 years apart. But I did get pregnant when Calvin was 18 months old or a little bit, he was a little bit younger than that, 16 months old, something like that. And I lost that baby at like 8 weeks. And that was devastating. So now not only had I failed at all these other things, but I'm like, oh, I failed. I'm failing as a mother. Like I'm failing big time as a mom. And that was at my lowest point. Um, that was at my lowest point, really. And then I decided to pick myself up by my bootstraps, fix my ponytail, stop feeling sorry for myself, stop wallowing in self pity, stop using living in San Diego. Like it's such a beautiful place too. I love living here. But for somebody who had dreamed of living in either New York or LA and had spent some time in San Francisco and loved that city too, like it was not where I wanted to be, but I wanted to be with my husband. So this is where we were starting a family. So I started, my friend was posting about online health coaching, and I was like, well, I'm really into wellness. And I had taught some yoga, I taught some boot camp classes, and I wasn't really doing that because when my son was born, I really wanted to just be at home with him. And my husband and I both wanted that. And so I was like, well, I could figure out like how to build an online business, I guess. Like I'm pretty smart. Like she seems like she's having a good time. She doesn't have kids though. So there was always that like self-limiting belief, but I'm like, I'll try it. I'll try it. I mean, it's fitness. I love fitness. Like I'm good at fitness. I'm motivating. I'll just try and see. So I tried and I grew a six-figure business doing that. And I surprised myself with how capable I was at not only running a business, but at marketing. That's why I got onto Instagram. I figured out content creation. When Reels happened in like 2020, I hesitated a little bit. I don't think I really showed my true colors on Reels or like really like allowed myself to create like that because I was still, again, like trying to put things into like categories like I'm an actor. That's different than a content creator. I realize now that much of what I've always done, the way that I create, the way I write, the way that I work on characters is how I create content too. It's just a slightly different way of like approaching it. But and maturity and experience, right? I came full circle. But then I had to choose, right? I couldn't because I figured out I did build my online wellness business with while my second son. So I started when my oldest son was 2, went through a pregnancy, had my other son. They're 3 years apart. They're 11 and 8 now, but like they were babies. They were so little. And I managed to figure out how to find myself again, how to rebuild because I mean, actors are entrepreneurs, right? They are like they have are good at a certain craft, but they have to have that entrepreneurial spirit to get knocked down and get back up again, to problem solve, to market themselves, to network, like all of that. I realized I'd taken all of that and what I was good at and put it into my online wellness business. And it just wasn't for acting anymore. And then when 2020 happened, and the vid kind of took us all down, everything went online for casting. So now it didn't hold me back that I was in San Diego. I could act again. So I self-submitted myself to a couple things, booked some big commercials like within the first couple of weeks, which is weird. And it was kind of a sign. And I remember being on set and for one of the commercials, I got to work with my children too. Like they wanted us as a family, which was really fun. And my husband, we had to get him a drink. They're like, this guy's nervous. Get some, he was just in the background, but he had never done anything like that before. And he brings this up sometimes. He goes, Megan, watching you on that set, you were just in your element. Like I had never, because when Ben met me, I wasn't acting that much anymore. We went to a screening of a movie I had done, but then I wasn't in any plays. I wasn't really auditioning. Like I met him and that part of my life paused in order for my relationship to flourish and to build my family. I really took a 10-year break from acting. And although I built my wellness business, that was a new thing. That was a different thing. So it was almost like he had never seen that part of me before. And he's like, it was just so cool watching you you were just like glowing. You were just like, I am like, I know, well, that's who I am. Like I am an actor. I'm a performer. I love I love, and that's what I love about creating is I love the audience engagement. I love it when people consume a piece of content that I created and it makes them feel something. That's like my favorite. So I guess the ending of this whole story of how I got to where I am, a lot of challenges, but just also like remembering who I am at the core. And even though I got lost sometimes, like it was for a reason. Like I got lost in order to find myself again. And I had to rebuild in every stage of my life. It wasn't just motherhood. You've rebuilt yourself before. You know, you rebuild yourself after a relationship ends. You rebuild yourself after you finish college and you're in the real world. Like that's why your early 20s are so hard for a lot of people. And if you didn't go to college, you're figuring out how to rebuild yourself after high school, like and how moving out from your parents and whatever it may be. Like you are always evolving. And I guess I was good at intuitively listening to what was a yes for me and what was a no for me. And somewhere along the way, I became a people pleaser. And I think it was during my online wellness business phase because I wanted to please everybody. I wanted to do well. I became a people pleaser and I really started to care what people thought. And I think also being online and having like, you know, I mean, my comments are pretty like they could be pretty brutal. And I had a piece of content go viral. Actually, the day that the event we were at in February, I had a piece of content go viral. It's still my best performing one where I'm like doing a dance at the school assembly because no other parent wanted to do the gritty and I knew how to do it. And they wanted a parent to get up there and do it with the kids. And then a couple teachers did it. So I was the parent and I posted that and I was like, oh, this is funny. It went super viral and like really upset a lot of men that were on Instagram. I don't know why it upset them. It was for moms, not men. It wasn't about dads. It was about moms. Anyways, that really hurt my confidence. It sounds weird. I had something go very viral, but because I was getting negative feedback and I was not prepared mentally for negative feedback, and I don't like negative feedback. I like constructive criticism from a director. I like constructive criticism from a good friend. Like, but just out of the blue, something that did also bring a ton of joy and made a ton of people laugh and people loved it and shared it. And like they felt seen, they felt heard. It was like a small group of people that really tore up my confidence. And again, I think also it was men. So I've had in the past run-ins with male bosses or men that I've worked with that's been negative, and it just really just like made me want to hide. So even though I worked a lot this year as a content creator and I earned a really good income and as an actor as well, it was hard for me to show up. It was this last year was really about me building my confidence again. And it's like, wow, we go through it. We work on our self-limiting beliefs. We work on our confidence, and it's a continual thing. It's a continual thing. It's the work is never done. It's never done. You have to continually like fill yourself up with that belief and like stay true, stay to the course, have faith, like keep showing up because the world will try to deter you. It will try to tear you down. But again, like you can always choose to start again. And it's not even starting again, it's just to continue and not give up on yourself. So yeah, I mean, I've gotten here through a lot of just doing what I love.
Oh, yeah. And I remember that too from your story when you spoke at the Galentine's event that we were at about like just like all of the different avenues that you take.
Mm-hmm.
And like this podcast, we knew we could go into like a bunch of different directions with everything that
Mm-hmm.
you've done. And as someone who is so multi-passionate, like you have a lot of different things that you love, like nutrition and wellness and motherhood and career life and content creation and being a wife, like all of the things. Like there's so many different things. How has it been with all of these different hats that you wear, all these different things that you love, putting them all together in this world of content creation or in this world of like Meg? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how did you find the confidence to be like, hey, I'm all of these things, sister. Like, I am everything, and that's okay. I hope you are loving this episode with Meg as much as I am. She is just such a bright light and such an inspiration to so many. I love hearing more about her story and diving into her truth. And if you are looking for a space to be able to do that for yourself too, you know that the rooms that I step into and the rooms that I create and the communities that I create are a place for you to be able to practice having more confidence in the outside world, whether that is for you in your workspace or in your home life or a little combo of the two. For me, it's often a combo of them all when I need to work on a little bit more confidence. That we have one spot left for our selfish retreat, literally one bed left left for our upcoming retreat happening May 23rd to 25th, just outside of Halifax, Nova Scotia. We are doing it at this beautiful spa. It's called Oceanstone Resort and Spa. It is right on the ocean. It has incredible views, wonderful accommodations, delicious food, and of course, a Nordic spa experience that you are not going to want to miss. We'll be able to have a whole evening of relaxation at the spa. We'll also be doing things like sound baths and diving into your human design and checking out more things about you that are going to help you to have more confidence in your life. And if this sounds like something that you're like, okay, I could get on board with this, we do still have a few payment plan options for this one spot left. And you will have to snag that spot pretty quickly if you want to grab the payment plan. And even if you want to save your spot to be there. I am so excited about this retreat. And now that I'm not pregnant anymore and my energy is back, I cannot wait to dive into your confidence and really see you step into that magic that you totally deserve. So if you have any questions, check out the show notes below so that you can get all the information you need for that final spot at the Selfish Retreat happening this spring. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a DM, send me an email, and we can chat about the spot and if it's a good fit for you. And let's get back to the rest of the episode with Megan Seibel.
So it's a couple different things. I have a best friend who I've had since I was 5. And I mean, he's pretty honest with me, and he's also a creative. And so I feel like if you have people in your life who understand you and are maybe this not made up of the same thing, but are in the same world, and they can have a perspective, because there's been times where I wanted to quit. And if he's saying, no, don't quit, and my husband's saying, no, don't quit. And I definitely don't talk to my mom anymore when I'm having doubts of confidence, because she doesn't like to see me hurt. And so it's hard for her to have the perspective. And I think it's interesting because I would hope as a mother, like, we'll be able to do this. But then again, we're always going to be their mom. So I do hope and pray that they become friends with people who know them and love them and are able to be that like sounding voice of reason, and that they end up with a partner who loves them and knows them and really helps them blossom into their best self. But it's a lot of failure, to be honest. Like, a lot of times where I wanted to quit, and then I'm like, okay, well, why do I want to quit? What's not really working anymore? What am I not good at? And am I trying to be really successful at something that maybe there's a million other people who are better at me as far as like business owners. The type of business owner that I realize that I am is that I'm the brand. And I was trying to sell something that was somebody else's idea, like the fitness programs and the other nutrition programs. And although they were helpful and they helped people, and it was my coaching inside my group, it was draining me. I was exhausted. And so the exhaustion was, the first thing. And then the burnout happens. And then the like anger and resentment almost happens because you're like forcing yourself to show up and do something. It was scary. I mean, it was scary to step away from that and go, okay, well, is it gonna work out? Like, is my instinct right? Am I as good as I think I am at this thing? Because I'm not, I can do this other thing, but does it bring me joy, and is it in my zone of genius? And that's what another girlfriend told me. So I have a lot of really good friends that I open up to and talk to and that's not easy for me, but I've learned over the years that those really good friends who you can open up to when you are doubting yourself are the friends that literally will say, you know what, you're being a perfectionist, or no, this is your zone of genius. Are you insane? Like that is what you are. So choosing not to do the things that aren't in my zone of genius. Like, I don't have a newsletter anymore. I don't, what am I not doing? Well, I'm not like coaching people one-on-one or even in a group. And I thought about that a lot last year. I was like, I'm going to take a couple months break. And then a couple months turned into a long time. And I started getting all these jobs for content creation and also for acting in a lot of auditions. And I was like, okay, well, I'm too busy to even take care of people like I used to as a coach, but I can still help people through my Instagram. So it really morphed into I am a certified wellness coach. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist. Do I sell meal plans? No. Do I have an online accountability group? No. Am I going to run a challenge? Yeah, if I do, I'm going to run it in my stories because I have a ton of people who are engaged on my Instagram that could do a 5-day challenge through my stories. I'm not going to take them off of the app and put them into a group because for the way I like to do things in my people, that's not really going to work. I could do one-on-one coaching, but like, is that the best use of my time right now? And I thought about it. I really did because I do want people to be healthy, but I can have a bigger impact if I am putting all of my time and energy into creating, and that's what I'm best at. And I don't know if I could like do something else and do it as much and as well and feel as good, I guess. So it was really trying a lot of things, narrowing down what was in my zone of genius and also how I felt when I was doing it. Because although we're capable of doing a lot, I feel like it's really important to do that self discovery and the personal development to figure out like, what are you best at? Because even in February, when we ran into each other again at that event, I was speaking at that event and I've spoken at events before and I enjoy it, but it makes me so nervous. I would rather like I kind of was like, oh God, I'm gonna talk, but I really wish I had like prepared some sort of song or dance. I could just get up there and like, no, seriously, because that is how I express myself. I express myself through song, movement, visual, like, and I like to tell a story. But I mean, I did get up there and I told a story and I had positive impact on people. So that was awesome. And it was a great experience. And I loved that event. I love Crystal. But I think that at the end of the day, we're good at a lot of things. We're really good at a lot of things, but we have to ask ourselves, what do we enjoy doing? Like my husband is an engineer. He enjoys doing math. He enjoys doing Legos, puzzles, crosswords, anything linear, but he's also appreciative of the creative, right? Because he has a good sense of humor and he's like, he's my soulmate. So of course he thinks I'm funny. And we have a lot of good laughs, but we see the world very differently. That's why we complement each other so well. But I express myself and I have this deep desire to entertain and to pick people up out of their mundane and like make them feel something, whether it's like they're motivated and inspired to like go work out or like go make a salad or like eat a healthy lunch, or they're because that's just my life. I'm just sharing that. But I think my creative work that I'm probably most proud of is my off the cuff stuff that's just inspired through me. And it's through a feeling. It's when I had COVID and I was like feeling like death this last October, or was it October? I don't even know. November. I was scrolling through Instagram and I came across like a video of Cardi B talking about like how she didn't want to cook and like she needs a chef and all. I was laughing so hard and I was like, this is funny. It wasn't even a thought. I was like, I'm going to film this. And I literally had watched it maybe 3 times. I set it up. I said, hey, honey, just be behind me and like, just listen to what I'm saying. And then just like, just be normal. I'm just going to do something real quick, And he's like, well, whatever, we're kind of he was making dinner because I was very sick with COVID. So I set it up and I pushed play and I just did it. And it felt so good to just like create. And that was off the cuff, raw. People loved it. They shared it. People redid it. They did it at the kitchen counter with the knife and everything. They tried to like reenact what I did. And I'm just like, that's so cool. It made people feel something. Like I love making people feel and making them laugh and smile. And I mean, I'm an entertainer at the core, but also an entrepreneur and a creator. And another thing I would say too to the moms is that I had to figure out why I started my wellness business. I had to figure out how I was going to earn income because my husband we had a lot of debt and he wasn't making very much of his job at the time. And so it was really important for me to figure it out. And so I figured it out for my family. And even though I was scared and even though I wasn't like, I didn't dream about being an online business owner, I did it and I did it well for myself and for my kids, for my family. And I think that when we have a really strong why and a purpose, we can pull out of ourselves like like we can pull a lot out of ourselves that might surprise us.
Right. And now that you do have like this platform that you've built for content creation and all of these pieces that you put together on it, like someone listening to this right now has a dream of creating content this year.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think they should start? Because it can be really overwhelming, especially even
Mhm.
to see where you are, Megan, and be like, oh, well, I can't do what Megan's doing. Like, Meg
Mhm.
is like really good at this. Or even off the cuff, like, what the F is off the cuff? Like, I can't do that. So, what would you tell the person listening to this right now who wants to start something like what you've been building, but has a lot of limiting beliefs or has some fears around it?
Okay. Well, don't try to be like anybody else. Your most authentic self, that's what off the cuff means, is my most authentic version of me that my closest best friends and my husband and my kids, like, and my family get to see. Um, I figured out how to be that girl in those moments and how to capture that. So, for a lot of people, like I follow a lot of different creators, I have a lot of different friends on Instagram that create very differently. You might get inspired by the way someone does it. And I would say try that way, but you might not be the mini vlog person. You might be a meme girl. It might not even be your face. I have this one friend who just does really hilarious memes where it's like screenshots of movies or shows or moments. And then she writes the most hilarious captions and she'll do like a stack of them. And she actually got shut down with her original account. She rebuilt it. I watched her rebuild the whole thing to like, she has a ton of followers, and does really well. So she knew what type of creator she was. I'm not that kind of creator. I create based from like emotion and movement, because I'm very theatrical. But I would say you have to just figure out how to find your voice and your style. And the only way to do that is to just start trying, is to just start taking action. I would say if you have a goal of creating content this year, you do one reel every single day. And some of them are going to be good and some of them are going to be bad. And it doesn't matter if they're good or bad. It just matters that you're working that muscle because you'll feel it. When you create something that it was fun for you to create it in that way, and you're like, oh my gosh, that was fun. I think we forget that like the fun part, that's what we're innately that do more of that. If something is really fun, do more of it because it didn't take a lot of effort on your part. It may have taken some time, but if it didn't take you don't feel exhausted afterward, energetically drained, in a bad mood, you're in alignment. That's good. Keep going in that direction. And then when something doesn't feel in alignment, that's when you got to have a talk with yourself, right? You got to like figure out like, well, maybe when I'm sharing or my niche or whatever. But I mean, when I got started, I listened to different podcasts about content creation. I watched YouTube videos, and all that stuff was great. But honestly, how I found my style was just doing it and not holding myself back. Like if I remember it was 2021 when I did my very first ever, like I danced for a reel, and it was just a little dance I had made up and I put it to like a Taylor Swift song. And it was at the very beginning of the year of 2021. And I'll never forget, I was like, my heart was pumping, my pits were really sweaty. I was so nervous, but I just was like, just do it, Megan. Because I had heard the song and I just kind of felt in my body what I wanted to do. So I just pushed play or record, and I didn't even edit. I just put it up and people loved it. And I was like, so then 2021 was the year where I was doing a lot of like these like little dance reels, but I was still working in a lot of wellness and coaching and marketing for my group and stuff like that. It wasn't until this last year where I really was able to unleash myself. And content for me this year was harder again because I had the confidence dip because I had something go viral and a lot of mean people. So I had to find my confidence again. And the way that I found it is just through taking action and having the time of like, and whatever your reason is for getting on, like, do you want to teach people? Do you want to entertain people? Do you want to, are you on there because you're marketing for like a business or a service that you have? Like, you have to figure out why you're on Instagram. I mean, everybody wants to create for a reason. So you have to know what that reason is. And then you just have to find your groove. And you do that through taking action and creating every day.
Yeah, every day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
I
Every
still
day.
think it's so interesting that people were mean to you about that reel. Like, I think it's a really great reel. Like, I don't understand why
It
the
was
men went crazy.
Well, they were upset that men do it too, and they thought so here's the thing about Instagram is a lot of people will post things to get a reaction, whether it be negative or positive. I am not strategic like that, so I didn't think about it being read a certain way, and it was so far back that you also maybe didn't think at first when you're first watching it that I was the creator. Like it almost looked like she could either, I don't know, like being very like they were like, oh, who is that? Oh, is that Patrick Mahomes' wife? Like, da 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 da. Like it was really, I don't know. It was like a really lot of conversations. I don't really know. Like if they thought I was making fun of them but then I was serious. I don't really know. I don't know. Who knows why things do the way they do, but they were offended, but it didn't matter because even though I turned off the comments, it still got so much reach and so much share that a lot of brands followed me and came to me, not because of that one, but I just got a lot of engagement and a lot of reach just in general, a lot of new followers from that. And then that led to, more followers. You can charge more money and as a creator. But I will say, when you start doing anything for an income, you have to keep yourself in check because you can take it, at least me, like I can take things a little too seriously and then it's not fun anymore. Whenever something isn't fun, I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. So there's a little bit of that. So you kind of have to like do your best, but then focus on the action of just showing up and doing it, whatever it is, not necessarily like the quick result, because the quick result is not going to be the thing that you want. Ultimately, the thing that you want is going to be the thing that's worth waiting for. So that's the thing that's going to come in time, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything you want to do differently going forward this year?
I don't want to hold myself back trying to make things perfect. And I don't want to doubt myself. I'm going to start creating over on YouTube and do long form videos. And I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I just think perfectionism and self limiting beliefs were just banging at my door all year in 2024. So I think this year I really want to just let myself really fly and like do more of the off the cuff stuff and not try to be structured and not try to be linear because I'm not that. And if I need that for my business and my brand, I'll hire someone to do that. I'm not going to try to do that because when I try to do everything, it drains me and I can't create from a place where I'm like drained. So I'm going to protect my peace and my energy a lot more this year and not try to do it in a way, like I said before, don't try to do it in a way that looks like somebody else because your version of it is going to look different. Like there could be two different podcasters and it's going to look different. They're both sitting in front of a microphone, but how they plan and prepare for the episode, how they show up, the style of talking, like the type of guest, it's all so different. Same thing for any business that we're doing. And I think that as long as we can do it from a place where we feel really good, energized, excited, clear headed, like our purpose is just trying to make the world better. That's all of us want that, right? We all want to share. We all want to make the world better in whatever way we want to contribute. And so that contribution is going to be different for everybody because everybody is so different. We have different talents, skills, backgrounds, interests. And that's what makes the world so beautiful is we're all so different. So I'm just going to try to create as much as I can this year and not worry about um the tasks that I think before I let myself worry about and get lost in. And that's not where I want to be. I want to be energized and able to do what I'm really, really good at. So yeah.
Yeah, girl. I can't wait to see what you're doing this year. I'm so excited.
Thanks, Jess.
Can you tell everyone where they can see your content, where they can check you out, where they can find your new YouTube long form that you've been
Yes.
doing? Where can everybody connect with you, Meg?
So my Instagram is at Meg Wellness. And over on YouTube, it's at Megan Seibel. So Meganseibel. And where else? I have a podcast too, Motivated Minutes. So if you go to megwellness.com, that has links to everything as well. You can go to the website and find it that way or search it where you listen to your podcasts. But that's where I'm at. I'm not on Snapchat or anything. Is anybody on Snapchat? I'm
Is
not on
anybody?
whatever Twitter is. I don't know. I sometimes post on Threads, but mostly I'm on Instagram every single day and my DMs are always open if you guys want to say hi. And I'm over on YouTube and I'm gonna post a long form video every week, at least for the month of January, and then I'm gonna see how I feel. But I think I kind of want to do it the whole year. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah,
my
I
gosh,
know.
that's so
I really want to
exciting.
challenge myself. I really
Yeah.
want to like see, what happens. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Oh, amazing. And I'll put that all in the show notes. So if you're listening and you're driving right now and you're like, I did not spell her last name, don't you worry. It's down below. That's okay. Meg also said she didn't know how to spell her last name for the
I
first year of
know.
marriage, so we're fine.
Yeah, we're
Um,
good.
but I do have a few questions that I ask every guest that comes on the
Sure.
podcast. Want to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, let's go. Let's go.
What's your favorite compliment to receive?
Ooh. Um, you're funny if I make somebody laugh. Yeah.
Yeah, you are funny.
Thank you. So are you.
What's your favorite thing to do to boost your mood when you're feeling when you're feeling grumpy? I was gonna say guilty. Whoa,
I go, whoa, when
grumpy.
I'm feeling guilty, I work out. Have I eaten something? Do I need to eat a snack? Am I
Mm.
hangry, low energy because I haven't eaten in a while? Probably. So I eat something, then I put on really good music and I go for a walk.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Especially a walk in San Diego. That would
So
make me
nice.
feel pretty good too.
It's pretty beautiful here.
Especially right
I
now.
feel, I actually feel guilty for like not enjoying it. Like, or giving my husband a hard time the first 2 years. Like, I don't know what to do here. Oh, this is the way I wanted to live. I'm like, God, I gave him so much grief. Lord,
Oh,
let me be the most amazing wife to make up for the first like 2 years where I was complaining all the time.
oh. And you're like, wait, now I live in San Diego. Like, how freaking cool is
Yeah.
that?
Own it. I own it.
Yeah,
I love living in San Diego.
I love that. Do you have a song or a quote that boosts your confidence?
Ooh, I'm not like a quote person. I mean, I love quotes. I love reading them. I will get lost in the quote, like the quote accounts on Instagram.
Mm.
But music is my jam and a song that like boosts my confidence. Um, Pink, Raise Your Glass.
So
Such a
good.
good song. Also from the Trolls soundtrack. What's that song? Um, the one that Justin Timberlake dances to in
Oh,
the music video.
yeah. I know what you're talking about, and I can't.
You're probably gonna have to edit this part, but let me find it.
This is the one that's like about dancing, isn't it?
Can't Stop the Feeling.
Oh,
Can't
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can't Stop the
Mhm.
Feeling by Justin Timberlake. That's a
Yeah.
good one. But yeah, anything that's like, I don't know. Also, I mean, a Whitney Houston. I want to
Oh,
dance with somebody. Um, yeah, I like a lot of things.
oh, yeah, me too. Me too. I love those suggestions. Well, thank you so much for being here, Megan, and for
You're
sharing your truth
welcome.
and your light with us. We need people like you who are sharing their message online. So I'm so grateful for you and so grateful for your time here today.
Thanks, Jess. Well, I am so happy that you asked me and so honored to be a guest on your podcast. I think what you're doing is magical and amazing and so needed because confidence is something that we need to do life and to enjoy it. So, and I'm super excited for you and your new baby on the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited too. Let's have a baby.
You have the baby. I'll
Oh,
send you a gift.
okay. You already had
I'm
yours,
not
right?
I'm not
I'm
having any
done.
more babies. I am done. But I am so excited for you and thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here. Thanks, Meg.
Thanks. Bye.
I am so glad we could hang out today. If you loved this episode, send it to a friend or share it on your social media and tag me so I can personally thank you for helping me sprinkle some confidence in the world. And don't forget, you are magic. Let's show the world your shine.